responsibly.
How good it is to be back. Lovely to have your company on a Saturday afternoon, and how good to have the company of these gentlemen. Brent Read is here, Wade Graham is here, and for the first time, making his starting run-on debut for the show, Nathan Hindmarsh.
Thank you. It's great to be here, guys. Appreciate it.
Have you done a full-time radio show before?
No, I have not. Okay. No, I haven't been in this building for years. Mm-hmm. I used to frequent it quite often.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know why. I just used to hang out in the hallways. But no, I haven't been here in ages. So
I must say, you have some big shoes to fill. Yes. Ryan Girdler, he was an integral part of this team. Obviously, Tony, our fittest leader, but Girds was the most experienced player. So he's a big loss, but I'm sure he can do.
Thans for filling me with confidence.
I'm sure you've got to cover that. I'm sure
he was a big loss. And there we've got Hindy. Yeah, great.
What was your rugby league debut like?
You really want to know? It was against the Adelaide Rams in Parks, of all places, okay. Yes. And I didn't have 1,000 family members come and turn up and cry and wave and all that sort of stuff.
Why have you got them here outside the studio?
It's a bit different. It's obviously doing something right. No, I was shitting myself, like we all do, I think. Mm-hmm. And then it's continued through 330 games after that. So, but it was an experience. I got run over by Alan Cairn, nice. Which I learnt a lot from. So don't tackle someone with legs the size of tree trunks, too low, and we got away with the win.
Okay, well,
we partied hard after.
Let's hope that's exactly the same scenario that we have this afternoon. We get away with the win, we party hard after. Speaking of partying, Vegas, I know the three of you have returned sort of in one piece, or three pieces. Reedy, how's your voice?
It's back. Well, it's almost back. I've still got a little cough tone, but I'm okay. I'm getting there slowly but surely. Not much sympathy on the home front, though.
No, of course.
Wife wasn't happy.
Wado, how was your experience? I understand your wallet is somewhere in the States as we speak.
Floating around in downtown LA somewhere, so they'll kiss that one goodbye. But no, it's a great trip. Like, I've been twice now, lucky enough to go both years. And it's fantastic to get over there and be a part of the event, not just game day, but the build-up. Mm-hmm. But it is a lot. It is a lot, and it is good to be home and back to some regular structure.
You just played golf. What are you talking about? I saw you with the golf clubs.
Don't start on me.
How many rounds of golf did you have over there?
I got 2 games in.
So you're flat out then.
I was flat out. But listen, don't start on me early, Radio. Right? Like,
we got a stink over
there. You were a broken man. You were a broken man in the last day. I was actually a bit concerned after the podcast. I know you had a 6-hour bus trip back to the airport to LAX. I was almost going to send you a welfare message, but I was like, you know what? He's a big boy. He'll get over it himself.
Is it unqualified success?
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, they had a CEO's meeting on Friday, and Andrew Abdo gave them a rundown on Vegas, and he said it looks like they're going to make a small profit out of Vegas. Can you imagine that? Wow. 2 years in, they're making a profit already out of Las Vegas.
Well, and this time Nevada has made a couple of $100,000.
They've made a lot of money out of it. But, the atmosphere this time I thought was a step up on last year. That fan fest on Fremont Street was insane. And I think it's occupied all the sporting space for a week, and it has a halo effect, a goodwill effect after it. So I think it's been a roaring success.
Yeah, and I would just say too, it's a big expense for someone to travel over there and watch the footy. But I think everyone who went over there and got a ticket for the game, they would have been more than happy with what the product delivered, not just in terms of game day, but the lead up. As Reedy said, the Fan Fest on the Thursday night, the season launch, just the whole vibe around the strip when you were there. I don't think there would have been one person on that plane. There was probably some sore heads and lighter wallets in my case, but they would have went and came home and go, you know what, that trip delivered, and I was glad I went.
But I think that had a lot to do with the introduction of the Super League teams. I think having the English over there, the fans, they love it. They're vocal, they're rowdy, they love a beer, they love a good time, and I think that created that atmosphere early on in the stadium, and with all that fan fest as well. All the fanfare was they loved it.
It's clearly a bucket list thing is going to be for fans to get there. It can be, I guess, watching from afar a little bit like a great party you've not been invited to. And the interest of transparency, that's exactly the case for me. But having said that, it is one of those things now. It's becoming a destination. There will be things where, they'll go, we don't want to play 4 games. I mean, we've done Magic Round for years now, and even 3 games is a long haul. So 4 games is always going to be too many. So they'll tinker around with that again.
They've said that already. Peter V'landys has said that already. I'd be disappointed if the women's game was gone. I think you need to find a way to play it, whether it's the night before on a smaller venue or...
But I think it has to mean something, though.
Yeah, it has. It has to be a better game.
I liked it, but the game was definitely one-sided, which we all knew it was going to be, but I think there needs to be a result at the end of it. There needs to be competition points up for grabs or or somehow work it out that it's
Australia and New Zealand would have been a better game.
Correct, and everyone was saying that, only because of the amount of rugby league the Kiwis actually play compared to the English. Like they're still new to it.
Yeah.
So,
but I think next year, Tony, we're looking at St George and Canterbury going next year.
Brilliant.
I mean, they'll draw huge supporters, right? And Canterbury
If
already.
I don't get a tap next year,
Well,
I'm
you
in a
know
very
what? There
you might have to.
There might be a spot for you because we have on air on Thursday night before the footy. James Graham actually put up his hand up and he said he doesn't want to go back. So
did he?
It's on air.
Wow.
It's public.
Is that because those Wigan supporters were giving him a bake?
I don't know. He might feel better in 8 months' time or even 8 days' time and be trying to recant on that. But once it's out, you might need to sneak in there, Tony.
True. I'm not sure I'm a like-for-like replacement for James
You
Graham.
can wear a wig and pull it off. Pommy accent.
Obviously.
just lock yourself away for a few weeks. Stay away from the sun.
Yeah.
You'll be right.
Exactly, that will do the job. Hey, we should mention, of course, our thoughts have gone out, of course, to all those in northern New South Wales and Queensland. Tropical cyclone Alfred, which has been now is ex-tropical cyclone, but that doesn't mean you should not still be vigilant. I mean, X's can still be nasty. This is still a rain event, huge things going on. You've got family folks in Queensland.
I've got a brother on the Gold Coast. My parents are in Brisbane. My other brother's in Brisbane. My in-laws are on the Sunshine Coast. So, look, thankfully, they're all going pretty good at the moment. My brother, I know there's a lot of power out in the Gold Coast. I spoke to Graham Annesley before. He's lost all his power on the Gold Coast. My brother's on the Goldie, and he's got his power, and his pool's full because obviously a lot of water's fallen out the sky in the last week or so. But thankfully, they're safe, and hopefully everyone up there is safe.
So the NRL, obviously, we had games come down here for the Brisbane, so they managed to get back. They flew out immediately after the game against the Roosters. What happened with the Dolphins? They were planning to leave at 9 o'clock this morning, was my understanding.
And they still haven't left, Tone, as far as I'm aware. They're still hopeful they still think they'll get back there tonight at some point.
They're heading to Toowoomba.
But at the moment, they're still in Sydney, as I understand it. So hopefully they get home.
All right, then it is we've got a new talent on the show. We've also got a new sponsor. Huge thank you to Thirsty Camel on down to Thirsty Camel Bottle Shops for unseriously good deals. Drink responsibly. Plenty in the 2 hours we get to share with you. Just remember the Knights 10 over the Tigers 8. The Broncos in that game 50 points to 14 over the Roosters, and it was South Sydney 16 over the Dolphins 14. So much to come on the Saturday Scrum, doing it for Thirsty Camel. Welcome to footy on a Saturday afternoon with the Saturday Scrum, Tony Squires. Nathan Hindmarsh, Wade Graham, Brent Read with you, Reedy. Charge sheet, injuries, what's happened? What's the news out of the game so far?
Yeah, look, the big charge out of last night was Jack White, and he got 2 charges. The most serious is a careless high tackle charge. He's looking at two games for that. And there was a dangerous contact charge, but that's just a fine for him. But Jack White could miss 2 games for South Sydney, which is significant given the injuries they've already got. Tyson Frizzell and Kurt Donohoe, is it Donohoe? I always get this one confused. Donohoe. I think it's Donohoe. Yeah, they were both charged as well, but again, they're just fines. And Angus Crichton was charged out of Thursday night, but that's a fine as well. And the big one for the Roosters, obviously, Victor Radley got knocked out. I think that was a Cat 1 from memory, so he'll have to sit out the 11-day stand-down period, so he won't be available next week for the Roosters.
But given his history as well, so they have to be very careful.
Yeah,
with
but I'm
his
told,
return.
Tone, they said I'm told he was okay in the sheds afterwards, and I don't think it's got to that point yet with Victor, so I think they're pretty confident he'll be back in a fortnight.
Okay, all right. The Knights over the Tigers, 10-8. The Tigers faithful who've been waiting a long time. They see Jerome Luai run out in those colours. Standing ovation at 8-0 at half-time from the crowd, which is great. They had that moment, couldn't hang on. What did we make of them? Is it something that they can build on, or is it disappointing? Where are we at with it?
Oh, I think overall the game was a bit scrappy. It looked like both teams were still trying to find their rhythm and work out their style. There's obviously a lot of changes with both clubs, particularly the Tigers. And the game was open for a long period of time. But I think there's enough in that game for Benji to be happy about, to get back to a review, cut up the clips and go, right, this is our starting point. And now we can move forward. And of course, Jerome's an experienced guy. He's going to be able to give that honest assessment about his game and the team's game himself after a couple of days of reflection. And it's only going to get better. I think Appy comes back in, Buller comes back in eventually. There's definitely, some hope there, and I'd be reasonably happy with that. I know they lost the first game, and you always you want to get off to a good start, but there's enough in that from a team performance that I think they can take the positives out and look to improve in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I agree, Wade. I thought they were pretty good, the Tigers. You know, particularly May.
They competed hard.
They
competed really
did.
hard.
A few mistakes here and there. You know, Jerome 7 tackle set. Knights go down the other end, score a try, which was a little bit disappointing. But I think there's a lot of promise in the Tigers. I think Benji, the second year in now, he would have learned a lot from last year. I enjoyed watching their forward pack from the Tigers, particularly May, 12 into 13. Dewey out in the centres, I think it's still a work in progress. I'm more suited to him being around the ball a little bit more. I'd like him to get his hands on the ball a bit more, but I think there's a fair bit of promise left in the Tigers. It's round one.
Yeah.
They probably, looking back at it, they probably should have sealed that game a little bit more. I think their management in the second half was a bit down. I think they got a little bit lost, but not a bad performance.
How far is Buller off? Because I know Appy's not too far away.
I think Buller's back next week.
Oh, well,
I think they're hopefully he's back next week. I think that's when you've got to judge the Tigers, when they got Buller back, when Appy's playing. But I was disappointed in the second half. Jerome and Lachlan Galvin in particular, the way they could have shut that game. I thought the kicking game was poor, and I didn't think they really controlled the second half like you would expect from those. And Galvin's 19-year-old kid, right? He's going to be a star. But I thought Jerome in the second half maybe...
Not missing, but just didn't have the same impact as he did in the first half. It seemed to me that he was relying a lot on his big men to do the job, and he kind of just sat back and watched a bit.
Again, that's their first game as a halves combination, and they'll learn from that second half.
And that's significant, right? Because they didn't play... You've got to remember, Jerome didn't play any pre-season games.
I'd be more worried if the same thing happens... in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and you go, okay, well, maybe they're not picking up the lessons or whatever they're trying to review isn't sinking in, they're not improving. But for a starting point, again, not the result that you wanted, but there's enough in that Tigers performance to go, okay, maybe they're heading in the right direction.
I think they missed 50-odd tackles, right, but they only conceded 2 tries, which says to me they scrambled really well.
They did compete hard.
And they were committed, and that's the main thing you want to see from the Tigers early on in the season, right? You want to see that they are committed and they're galvanised and they're having a go for each other. And it seemed like that was the case.
Would Roosters fans have been scratching their head a little bit watching Tyrrell May run, big meters on that game after their forwards got absolutely monstered by Brisbane the night before?
Well, they probably were, Tone, but that was a culture. I mean, they made that decision, if you listen to the Roosters, for cultural reasons, not because he's not a good footballer. And you can argue about whether it's, letting players go for cultural reasons is a smart thing to do, but that's the path they went down, and they've got some good young players coming through, and they're wedded to those guys.
But what cultural reasons?
I don't know. They never really...
Because you look at the Chooks and you look at some of the players they've got in there, some of them are known to like a good time, and if that's what we're talking about, or is it work ethic?
Yeah.
But I thought May was out, and the minutes he played, he punched out.
But with all due respect to May, and I love him as a player, he was playing against the Knights pack, not a Brisbane Broncos pack with Payne Haas, Carrigan playing off the back foot. Like Lindsay Collins is the Australian Test front rower. He was out there, and he wasn't that effective at all just because of the way the Broncos played. So it's looking at 2 different lenses there. I know May was fantastic for the Tigers the other night, but. If he's playing that, if he's playing
up against you're saying
a different team, just a different team.
Just say it.
It's not the Broncos forward pack. It's not the Broncos forward pack. That's all I'm saying. So.
All right, let me write that down. Knights forward pack, shite.
You're not on Fox now, buddy.
This sounds like some quality Daily Telegraph journalism now.
Look at that.
Royce Hunt
did it for love.
He was great in the moments before halftime. The 2 packs suddenly intensely at each other was a great moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he's a good character, Royce. You were disappointed to lose him from the Sharkies. It's just the way the game works sometimes, and he's a big character. He's a great runner of the ball. He's really strong. One of the strongest players, certainly in my career, I ever trained against or with. And I think it's good for him. He probably gets some more minutes than what he was used to at the Sharks. An opportunity to develop his game more. And again, as same as May, that opportunity for those 2 front rowers to get more minutes and build that forward pack and combination. It's only going to get better, hopefully.
Yeah. There's always pressure on coaches. So for Benji, last year he's come through. He's got a long contract at the Tigers. There's obviously all eyes on how they improve this year. As I said, we've got Jerome Luai. Will that pressure ease at all, or is it's still head down, bum up for him?
I think he's under immense pressure. I think they need to show improvement. They don't need to win the comp or even finish in the top 4, but they need to be better than they have been the last 3 years. And it's hard not to be better when you've won 3 consecutive wooden spoons, right? But
Yes.
they just need to make some strides. And I think they will. I mean, I think as we said, we saw enough last night to suggest they're going to be better this year. And as long as they improve and compete every week and have a go and move up the table, I think, Benji, you'll be okay.
All right, let's flip it over and have a look at the Knights. Were you impressed with what you saw there? Apart from their pack later.
Now you're putting words in my mouth, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that. Again, listen, it was a bit of a scrappy game, and I thought 2 teams still trying to figure out their style of play and how they're going to go about their business this year. But in the end, just a little bit too classy. Bradman Best, Marzu finds that try in the corner, even though our man Dan Ganane almost mucked it up, was it?
Yes, we'll play that for you a little later.
It was mucked up, but they just did enough. And, I feel like there's probably more pressure on the Knights than the Tigers, just because, O'Brien's been there a long time. Obviously, KP, he's a fantastic player. Individually, he's up there with the best in our game. But off the back of that run a couple of seasons ago where they found that magic and they had that charge into the finals, they took a couple of steps backwards last year, and they're making some moves in the market. They're trying to advance that squad. I know we're going to get into it, but I think as a club, if they, it was a good win and they need to keep that winning momentum. Otherwise, if they go the other way, well, the noise will begin on them. But, you can't talk too much about it. One game, they got the 2 points. And again, like the mark will be in a month, like 4 or 5 weeks' time, where we can see the consistency, whether they improve or they go backwards, and that's when we can really start measuring up these teams and seeing how they're tracking.
Because when you watch it, it seems to be all about KP. It's all about Kalen Ponga. That's where the magic's going to happen.
Yeah. Which is there's so much pressure on Kalen to do his job, and I thought on yesterday's game they looked predictable. I thought the Knights, they seem to just want to go wide all the time, go around them, and you can see Adam O'Brien up in the box. He's wanting them to play a little bit straighter, and Caitlin can't do everything. Yep. I think he needs a little bit of help out there. Well, he does need a little bit of help. But then you get players like Bradman Best where they give him the ball, he does what he does, and then they don't go back to him for ages. And I was a little bit confused with that. And there was massive spaces out on the Tigers' left edge, which they didn't utilise through Pierce Paul. He should have been running those nice, hard down lines, but they kept going out the back and trying to go around the Tigers when all the space was up in the middle.
I did like the look of Dylan Lucas. He was fantastic yesterday. He's like,
good footwork.
I know that, again, they're in the market of trying to bring players into their team, but he's the kind of guy who can start to build other things off, just his intensity, how he plays the game. Like, he gets after the game and competes, and they're the sort of players that you need to be building off and leaning on that sort of competitiveness and that nature in the game, because that's what gets it done. Like, Kalen can do only so much, by himself. But if you start having guys like Dylan Lucas, the way he plays, if there's 3s and 4s and 5 of those guys, well, then Kalen's job becomes so much easier, because, again, you've got to deal with the guys in front of you. And obviously, once you worry about them, well, then the space comes, on the outside where he can do his work. But, yeah, they're still building again, and we'll see. We'll keep checking in.
I like the look of Fletcher Sharp too.
He's good.
At 6,
he's good.
He's a goer. But you're right, Dylan Lucas, they extended him in the off-season, I think, gave him a long-term deal. Really good footballer. But you know what? I mean, we talk about how reliant they are on Kalen Ponga. If he's playing for the West Tigers last night, the West Tigers cruised. I think they cruised to victory. He's that significant. Some of those plays he came up with where he got out of the end goal, they just changed the game. And, I think without Kalen, they don't win that game last night.
No, I'm with.
And that's why they're
that's
why they're in the market and trying to take pressure off him, because they know they need blokes who can take. That's why they moved Fletcher Sharp to 6 to try and take some heat off Kalen Ponga. So,
all right, coming up, is the season over before it begins for the Eels? That injury to Mitch Moses. That's next Saturday Scrum. Yes, welcome on board, Thirsty Camel. Welcome on board, Nathan Hindmarsh making his run-on debut. Obviously, we never let a teammate down here, Hindy. You just had some conversation with your missus, I understand.
It's good. Let's talk about it. No, I had it's a 45-minute drive in from my house to here.
Yep.
I had 3 or 4 phone calls from her because she's at home watching a show, I suppose. Well, it's a show. We're up against vegans and meat eaters. So they get sets of twins.
Some kind of battle.
One goes on a vegan diet, one goes on a meat diet, and they compare them. They do all the scans and all. So I'm apparently I have to be vegan because it's It's better for you. So I'll be vegan as of, what's today? Saturday.
Saturday.
I'll have a few beers tonight.
Are beers vegan?
Monday.
I'll start Monday.
Are beers vegan or not?
Can you get vegan beer?
Oh.
Would you drink it?
A beer would be vegan, would it?
I imagine. I don't know. Is hops a problem?
I might have to get on vodka.
So tell me this, you're by and large, you've been a carnivore all your life.
I am a heavy carnivore man.
Yeah.
And apparently it's not good for your visceral fat, which I apparently carry a lot of.
Okay.
So I've been told by my wife. And it's good for your old timers. So apparently if you go on a vegan diet, it lessens your chance.
For young people, that's Alzheimer's he's talking about.
Yeah. Lessens your chance of by up to 40%.
Wow.
But I've also got the sauna at home that's coming.
Okay.
Because that's meant to be good for your noggin. And ice baths as well. I've got an ice bath at home as well.
We have literally replaced Gertz.
Yeah.
We have replaced him.
I'm not.
Here we take you some breathing classes.
I'm not screaming and yelling at people though. I'm not doing any of that sort of stuff yet. So
now, Gertz used to be in an ice bath while he was doing the show. He loved it.
I enjoy an ice bath. It gets you going. It does. No. I've turned it off. It's been off for about 4 months, but it gets once I get back into it, I'll be in it every morning.
Wait, you love the ice bath?
I never enjoyed them, to be honest, but there's no doubt about the positive effects it has on you when you're training and playing every day. So it's sort of, for me, it was a necessary evil, but yeah, once you get out, you can feel the difference straight away. Like it's good stuff.
Great for a hangover. Great for a hangover.
All right. You been in an ice bath, Ready?
You know, I just joined one of those gyms where you can go and do the ice bath, warm bath, sauna. I got a six pass. I haven't used it yet. Got it about a month ago.
You'll be a different man.
Will I?
You will.
Hopefully. Yeah. This man's not much chomp. I'd love a sauna though at home. My wife won't let me get one. I love a sauna.
I've just ordered one.
So good.
There's some good ones out there now and reasonably affordable as well.
Are you steam or infrared?
I'll probably, if it was at home, I'd be infrared.
Take control at home.
Some of us are renting and struggling to pay the rent in apartments, and you're talking about buying saunas.
Mate, there's some really good products out there, and they're reasonably affordable.
They should sponsor the show, Tony.
Yes, exactly. Thank you to Thirsty Camel Saunas. All right, Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses. The story with the Eels. Now, I think they've been installed suddenly as equal, maybe down the bottom, certainly in terms of favouritism for the wooden spoon, given that Mitch Moses is out for, 6 weeks?
At least 6, I think, Tony.
Bone in the foot.
Yep. So he's got some soreness in the foot. He's had it for a while now. And he'll be in a moon boot for 4 weeks and then a couple of weeks after that to recover. So hopefully he'll be back in 6 weeks, which is a fair chunk of their season, obviously.
Does it put the red line through them?
Oh, not yet. Obviously, we haven't even seen him play a game yet. And Jason Riles, we got to back him into make a difference there. Although it is disappointing for him. He comes to the club. The potential of Parramatta is certainly a draw card for any coach, and he knows the potential there. The nursery there, the Lees club, and you get in there and all right, all systems go. We get through the preseason, and then our star halfback is unavailable for the first month. It's certainly he'd be disappointed with that, but it's an opportunity, I suppose, for Dylan Brown to step up and really lead this team around. Now, I know we're probably going to talk about him and the Knights' interest in him about taking that pressure off Ponga. But, I love Dylan Brown as a player. I love him as a 5'8". I love the way he can play, how dangerous he is. But he showed in the past so far that when Mitchie's not in that team, you almost put a line through them in the way they can compete, particularly with the top teams, but they just don't manage the games the way they should be. So there's an opportunity there for him to really step up and show his worth and why there's so much interest to it. And the other bonus is, I think, Volcom. He had a bit of a tough journey last year, signed with the Dragons, needed some surgery and whatnot, got pushed back, almost sat out the whole year. Now he's got an opportunity at Parramatta. I thought he was fantastic in the trial match against the Knights a few weeks ago. Yep. And hopefully he's playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and an edge about him that goes, you know what, here's an opportunity for me. However long Mitchie's out, I'm going to try and make the most of it and put my name back in the window for other clubs potentially in the future, or for if any issues, like if Dylan Brown does leave, or maybe he can go to the 6. So there is some positives, but it's a big blow. Like Mitch Moses, he's the man of that team, and it's a massive difference with him not playing.
I think it's just his kicking game alone that's going to be missed. He's got probably one of the best kicking games in the comp, but just can find the mark. His short kicking game is great as well, but it's his long kicking game that gets the Eels out of trouble. So if they're ever pinned down in their own end, he's the one they look to get them out of trouble. But, you speak about Dylan Brown. I think he's had those opportunities to shine and take leadership many times before with Mitch being out. And for me, I think he's got all the talent in the world, but just won't grab the game by the scruff of the neck and really dominate himself as a leader of that side. And I think he's been there long enough now to do that. And for us to keep saying this is his chance, he's had chances. Yeah. He's had a lot of chances, I think. But and now he's got no Gutho behind him either.
That's a big loss
to work on as well. No no Regan Campbell-Gillard. He's left the club as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on definitely Dylan Jr., I think, in the front row to take that leadership role as well. So it's a big ask with having no Moses there.
I just think Brown, he's just an out-and-out 5'8". He's an out-and-out 5'8".
He is a talent. He's a talent, but has he led the side yet? He was outstanding in the trial against the Knights, scored a couple, but I don't take much out of trials. I really don't.
No. I would say they don't have the toughest draw the next 6 weeks. I mean, Melbourne's really hard in round one. Then they go Tigers.
I think that makes it worse, though, Reedy, because people are kind of going, well, they're a 50-50 chance, and they start dropping those games.
Because they go Tigers, Dogs, Manly, Dragons, Raiders. So, I mean, it's a draw that you would expect them normally
they're the tricky one. They're the tricky
some
ones.
of those games,
and
right?
Traditionally, Parramatta's history, those games, I don't know what the mindset is, but those games they're expected to win, they more often than not don't.
But if we're talking about him having an opportunity to put his case forward, surely, certainly the Knights have already seen it and love it enough to offer $1 squillion.
Well, Peter O'Sullivan, who's the Knights recruitment boss, he's been chasing Dylan Brown for as long as he's been playing first grade. He tried to get him to the Warriors when he was at the Warriors, and he's got a huge opinion of him. And
remind us of the numbers.
It's 13 million over 10 years, but it's got a ratchet clause in it.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
How do you live
It's got
on
a ratchet
that?
clause, but to safeguard the club, against playing, ridiculous. Well, you could argue this is ridiculous, but more ridiculous amounts of money. There's a cap on how high it can go. I believe it's around 1.4 million, which means also that Kalen will also always be the highest earner there because Kalen's on 1.4 million now. And it's not. Look, I mean, the Knights have been a club, right, that have finished somewhere between 7th and 12th. 4 out of 5 years under Adam O'Brien. And they know that to take the next step, they need to take pressure off Kalen. They need to fix their halves.
They need a half.
Their halves have been an issue for so long. And that's why they've moved Fletcher Sharp there. That's why they're going all in on Dylan Brown, because they think that Dylan can take the heat off Kalen, can fix their issues up in halves. And I actually don't mind it. Because who else are you going to get? Look, if you're going to drag him away from Parramatta, he's on a massive deal at Parramatta. Yeah. I think he's got 6 years left or something there, and he's on over $1 million there. If you're going to get him out of Parramatta, you've got to pay him a lot of money, and you've got to give him certainty beyond the Parramatta deal. And that's what they're doing. And I actually think, you know what? They're trying to win a comp. They're not just happy to be 6th to 12th. They want to finish top 4. They want to win a comp, and they know they need to win take pressure off Kalen. To win a comp,
you need more than 2 players. Right, yeah, and if they've already invested so much.
I wouldn't know.
In Kalen, they've already invested so much in Kalen.
Yep.
And then if they invest this massive, I don't know why he hasn't signed a deal. Like, does he? If it's just about a money thing, no one's going to come in and outbid that, surely. And Parramatta's not going to.
Well, I think they're the only ones. I think the other issue is, Wade, they need to show Kalen that they want to win a comp, that they're ambitious, because Kalen's off contract the end of 2027, and every time I've spoken to Kalen in the last few years, it's about winning premierships. That's what he wants to do. And the worry is that at the end of 2027, if they haven't shown him they're ambitious enough, there's all the rumours about the Roosters floating around Kalen. There's all these rumours about rugby union. Maybe he doesn't stay. So they need to show him that they want to win comps.
I just think it's just a massive risk. Like, from a player's point of view, if I'm Dylan Brown, I'm signing that straight away. Like, you're not going to get a better deal than that. Yeah. Like, and that's an unbelievable deal. 10 years. How old is he now? 26, 25?
I think about around
so
that.
It's going to get him to 35 years old, 36 years old.
When does it have to be done by, this negotiation?
Yeah. Round 10, he's got the option till. Mm-hmm. So he's got, he can tell Parramatta not taking up the option, then continue negotiating. But I would imagine he's got to get it done the next week. We all thought it'd be done before round 1. It hasn't been done yet. I'd imagine he's going to get this game out the way and resolve it.
So from the player's point of view, go for it. Good on you for being able to get a deal like that. That's unbelievable. Well done. But from a club point of view, talking about winning comps, like you want to win a comp, you invest so much in Kalen Ponga, who on his day is arguably the best player in the NRL. You want to tie another big chunk of money up into a 5'8", who, as we just spoke about, has had opportunity to lead the team, but he hasn't really been a general and got a team around the park. Yes, as an individual, he can pull you apart with his talents and how good he is. But you think you've beaten a Penrith and a Melbourne, the Dogs even now, the Sharks, off the back of 2 players? Like I just think as a club, I think it's a massive risk.
You mentioned Dylan Lucas. We spoke about Fletcher Sharp.
Yeah, okay. But then if you have
still there. There's making sure those blokes are locked up.
Yeah, but if you have too much money tied up in that, when Best comes off contract and then the other clubs come swooping, they pick you apart in other ways. So, I love it for Dylan Brown.
It's a lot of money to be tied up in.
Yeah, as a club, I see massive risk. I see massive risk. Like, what happens if they get up there and all of a sudden they don't get along or they don't even suit each other when they play?
Certainly more than 2 stars running around for the Broncos. How impressive were they? We'll get there next on the Saturday Scrum. Nathan Hindmarsh, absolutely brilliant on debut so far.
Fantastic.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I don't miss Gerds at all.
Who? Ryan.
Absolutely.
I love Ryan.
We all love Ryan. We all love the way the Broncos played the other night. 50-14 over, admittedly a weakened Roosters side. But in terms of laying your cards down and saying, we're here and, we like the look of that premiership, the Broncos did it.
They did it very well. They did it very convincingly. They were on from the start.
Yeah.
They looked fresh. They looked fit. Yeah, it was against a very understrength Roosters side, but I thought the Roosters still were going to put up a little bit more of an effort than what they did. But Madge has got them firing. I know we're not going to go off earlier. Madge will be the first one to say, look, we haven't achieved anything, but he's got them going the right way, and they look like they're a side, and this is nothing against what Kevy is doing, obviously, but they look like a side that are willing to turn up and play for each other this year. Yeah. I know, again, I'm going to say it, it's round 1.
Yeah.
It's round 1. I'm not going to put my house on it, but they're looking good.
Gee, it was good as a Dragon supporter to watch Ben Hunt run around. I tell you. Well, he's got so much at his disposal, as does that team. Reynolds and he together, and obviously an old half sparing. I think it was Desi Hasler and Cliffy Lyons might have been the most recent of that age who have run around. But they just have such control and give each other space as well.
Well, that's the word, control. They played amazing, and there was some spectacular tries that they pulled off, but they were just under control the whole time, and they didn't really overplay their hand. They're a dangerous team. The Carrigan, Haas, missing somewhere there in the back row. Hetherington was fantastic at lock, and then you look at their OBs. We know they can score points from anywhere, but they just looked under control with Benny Hunt and Adam Reynolds. And the funny thing was, Reno spoke to us after the game, and he said they hadn't trained much together in the preseason just because of shortened preseasons or load or however it worked. They hadn't done much work, but when they were out in the field, they just complimented each other well, communicated with Reece when they had to, and they looked like they did it easy.
They looked like you're playing with your parents on the field.
They still have I think they still have a couple of gears left in them too, which is scary once they click. Like, it was raining the other night, so conditions weren't great, and they still managed to strip the Roosters. And I know we're going to dive into the Roosters here a bit, but I actually don't think the Roosters were that bad. Yeah. I think they were under strength. Hear me out. They're under strength.
They got 50 put on.
Yeah, I know. I know. This is the thing.
This is a team I backed to win the comp last year.
Yeah, well, that's a you problem. I'm just trying to mitigate the loss here for any Roosters fans. I thought they tried hard. I thought there was effort in areas, but when the heat got turned on them, and they were under the pump. Like, you're not going to have the momentum the whole game anyway, particularly against the Broncos team. But once they got sort of the heat turned on them, they just made poor decisions, like basic decisions, numbering up, short sides, which Broncos.
What Robbo said in his press, they played dumb.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, the effort was actually there. Like Teddy, he would have been tired the next day because they ran him ragged, and he was trying to pop up and do his best, but they just sort of got overwhelmed. And I've been there before. You've been there before as well, Hindy. When you get on that little treadmill and the snowball effects happen.
But that's what it seemed like. A lot of their middle guys, it was when they had that little
Victor. When Victor went off, that was a big moment of the game.
They had that. They ran it on they had that little bit of a kicking thing where they ended up scoring off it, and there was barely any Roosters in the front.
Yeah.
Barely any, and there was Broncos everywhere. Yeah. And the ball got kicked 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Well, a couple of times they ran on the last play, and they just were nowhere. Yeah.
But they got pinched for that early, running on the last. But they did it. The Roosters defended the same way again. They rashed out.
Well, that's the thing too,
they balked the kick out.
Roosters and Broncos are the same. They play their 3 guys deep into the backfield early. It's just so the kickers don't have much space to go, and it's a risk because there's space on the edge. But normally, to get through that risk, you'd be passive and push towards the sideline. But some of the Roosters players were coming out of kick pressure and forcing Renault to pass.
But even players
in
like
the space.
I think Angus Crichton did it once.
Yeah, it's just
after it already happened to him. So I'm thinking, what's going on
well,
here?
This is not fatigue, momentum, decision making. It all went out the window for them when they got put under the pressure that the Broncos did. And again, I in moments their effort and the way they played was actually okay, but just their decision making when they were under the pump let themselves down.
I didn't think the effort was there at all. There was parts in that game where there was middlemen not even bothering to try and chase back anything at all, and they had their heads down. The ball's still alive.
Yeah,
they got their heads down looking at the ground. I'm going, that's not how you play rugby league.
Nate's just throwing the slipper into the Roosters. I like it.
I know because they're missing a lot.
Robbo spoke afterwards about their physicality and their effort. Paynehouse busted 11 tackles. They can't have been too physical. I mean, he trampled them.
Have you tried to tackle him?
11 tackles, him and Paddy Carrigan. They trampled them through the middle of the field.
They did, yeah.
And that's the worry for me. He's praised their physicality and effort. I mean, he's probably trying to talk them up, obviously, pump them up. But you still lose by 50 after praising their physicality and effort. And that's a Brisbane side. No Tony Staggs. Mm-hmm. Ezra Mann will come back at some point during the year. Like, they are going to get better. I don't know how the Roosters get better from there. I mean, maybe they keep Radley on the field, but you're not going to get Sam Walker or Brandon Smith back till maybe August. I mean, by then their season's over. And if I'm them, I don't bring Sam Walker back. I'd give him the year off and make sure he's right for the year after.
It's a good test for Robbo because ever since he's really got there, he's had experienced players he could rely on. You think back to the Boyd Corners, the Jake Friends, Jared last year, Kiri, Manu gone, Swaliti gone. There's a lot of experience gone, and guys who normally he would rely on the field, to deliver his message and to keep the team on track. Now there's Teddy, Victor went off. Angus probably needs to step up a little bit, but just as a player, the comfort with those experienced guys is when it gets hard, you can look over your shoulder and go, all right, I've got Jared next to me. We're going to be okay. All right, Kiri's out there communicating. We're going to be okay in those tough moments. All that experience is gone now, so they need to find new guys to step into those roles and develop. That doesn't happen overnight. No. They need to develop it, and it's a big chance for Robbo to see what we can.
There were some bright spots. I mean, Mark Nawanga-Nitawazi, I think was his second NRL game after coming over from rugby. He's got a big body. He looks like he'll.
Toya, he was fantastic. He was
good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That try,
I'll give him that.
a little bit of space, and then you saw it on the replay. He caught eyes on Benny Hunt, who was sliding the fence, and you just knew in his eyes, you go, I've got him here, and just snapped him on the inside, and he set up that try for Dom Young early.
Yeah. Well, they do look very good, beating the Roosters 50 points to 14. This is the Saturday Scrum, doing it for Thirsty Camel. Triple M, rocking the footy. It is time for some of this action.
Welcome to Tony's Spotting Quiz.
All right, Reedy, I don't know. I was thinking maybe I've run out of petrol on this thing. It's been going for like 13. Award-winning, I know. The best radio segment in the Southern Hemisphere for 7 years in a row.
It'd be like getting rid of the Oscars, Tone. Or the Grammys.
Well, thank you for bigging me up. Yeah. But, look, I just ran out of petrol. You can probably tell in this quiz, haven't made it all the way through. But we're going to do it because, Nathan Hindmarsh is making his debut.
Yeah, this is all new to me.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's a quiz where they're fairly simple questions. You'll use your name as your buzzer. If you could test those for me, please.
Well, Tone, I reckon because Gerds isn't here anymore. What was your dog's name?
Oh, no.
Someone's got to do
the poor late dog, Skipper.
Skipper. I'm Skipper then. Okay. Skipper.
All right. That's good. Thank you.
Nathan.
Okay.
Wade.
All right. You're not going with last year's effort where it was the best player from the night before.
Okay, maybe I will. I'll go Cleary's performance in Vegas. I'm going Cleary.
Okay. All right.
Suck.
Question number one. Let's take you back then. Who scored the first try of the 2025 NRL season?
Nathan.
Yes, Nathan.
Sebastian Chris.
It was Sebastian Chris.
Oh, nice. Seb Chris it was for the Raiders.
Thank you.
Full name too, not even a nickname.
Look, Las Vegas Raiders NFL superstar Tyler Manoa blew the Raiders' horn to get the...
He got tossed out of the stadium for ruining a restroom.
That all well and good, but that's not the question.
Oh. He was tasered.
Would you like to get all
free shot? Let's go free shot.
Okay, from the Viking, he got the blew the horn. How many NFL games has he played?
0.
Yes.
Cleary 0.
Not 1. Where was Nathan Hindmarsh born?
Nathan. Yeah. I had to think about it for a second. Barrel.
Barrel he was born. I was there last weekend.
Well done, man. Well done,
The
man.
Scottish Arms Hotel. Very nice.
I didn't even know there was such a place still.
Yeah, there is. Ange Postecoglou says he always wins a trophy in his second year as a coach. What happened yesterday that makes that
Skipper.
tough? Yes,
He lost 1-0 in the quarters of the what's it called now?
That will do it. AZ Alkmaar, the first leg of the Europa
They reckon he
League.
might get sacked if he loses that second leg.
Yeah, that's right. Well, there's exactly. They still have a chance to go through in the round of 16 at the moment. Who was the last Broncos player to win a Dally M?
Nathan.
Yeah.
He got this question the other night, didn't he?
I've got two of these.
You got it right too.
It was
I
Alfie. That's how I knew it was Sebastian Chris, because I had
think. I was too. You just ripped this off.
First
This is an
time.
outrage.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks, Tone.
You
Thanks
guessed
for looking
out a
after
new
me.
You
player.
haven't come up with your own questions. You have given up on this.
What is this? Name Nathan's 3 children.
3.
Well, he's got
Well,
3
3.
of them.
You only have to name 3 out of
Three out
4.
of the
I won't do it. I won't do it.
I don't know.
Oh, no,
Oh, come on.
One's Buster, isn't he?
Yeah.
One's Buster, yes.
No, go along the same way. Rowdy.
Yeah,
Rowdy's
Rowdy,
another
that's
one.
it, yeah.
Yep. And the other one, either Archie or Dodge.
Well done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Such good names. And look, because this is you need to have this experience, Nathan. Whose name? Don't use your pens. No pens. Whose name am I spelling backwards? I-G-A-L.
Ready.
Yes, ready.
Murray Tuolangi.
You are so good at this.
My bound. It's my,
You
it's my
are-
thing.
look
It's my
how
thing.
pumped up he is.
Everyone's got something in life.
That's
It's my
why
thing.
Lush
Isn't there
is
more than
the
one
winner.
Tuolangi?
Oh, there is. Is it?
Murray
Yeah, there is. There's
yeah.
Kelma.
Yeah, well, you said Murray.
I got the right one.
You did get the right one. Congratulations, but
Magician,
Nathan Hindmarsh
magician.
is the winner on the day with this. The quiz may come back next
Thank
week.
you.